The Rheeality Podcast. Real conversations about life, love, and business. With me, Jason Rhee. This is The Rheeality. All right, welcome back to The Rheeality Podcast. I'm here with Jose Rolon.
Yeah.
Of Jose Rolon Events.
Jose Rolon.
Rolon Events. You are a wedding planner, super dad, a TV host now.
Oh my gosh.
Public speaker.
Yeah.
Magazine gracer. And you're also the New York gay dad. That is your viral handle.
Yeah, NYC gay dad, yeah.
Yeah, NYC gay dad.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what that is like being viral.
I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would say it. I mean, honestly, if we're keeping it real, the first thing that popped into my mind, I'm like, it's really annoying on Grindr and Scruff.
Yes.
I'm like, why are you trying to hit me up and talk about my kids? I don't want to talk about my kids on Scruff.
Oh, that is a little weird because
Yeah.
your kids are so public.
Yeah.
Avery, Lila, London.
Correct.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are superstars. The acting ability, the dancing ability, the lip sync ability, all three. Super.
Yeah.
I mean, we're making bank.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. So I'd say in terms of going viral, I think what I found interesting about it is initially when a couple videos went viral, I just thought, okay, it's just the algorithm doing its thing and maybe just giving us a shot, right? And then as things continued to go on the up and up, because I feel like a lot of the content that we were producing was just for us, for the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I say it all the time, that, the reason we started doing it, or I'll say the scripted response and then the real that's connected
we like
to
the real
scripted
response here.
Is like, we were struck with triple duty. We were struck with like parenting, homeschooling, and trying to make our businesses survive. And I was just driving myself crazy. And so I just needed to break some of that up. And the real that's connected with that too is I also realized as a single father, the way that I rejuvenate as a dad is I go out and I go on some dates and if I want to get something, a little something.
Yes.
That's how I rejuvenate as a dad, because then I feel like I could come back and be super dad. And so during the pandemic, I realized that was not going to happen for quite some time. And so I really needed to be creative, to put my creative flow into something that was a little bit more positive. But with the viral stuff, I think that when I noticed that even though our content seemed to be focused around parenting, LGBTQ plus space, and Latinx, that it didn't matter if whoever was liking our video didn't fit in those categories.
Yeah.
They seemed to find some of our content relatable.
Yeah.
And so when I had one video go negative viral, that's when I realized there was something bigger outside of what we were doing, and that there's sort of some sense of responsibility. And
What does negative viral mean?
Negative viral is when a content goes viral, but based on virtual hate mail.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you get like a lot of negative comments.
Yeah. And was that when you were speaking out about certain specific things?
Yeah. So the CEO of Goya came out in support of Trump.
Yes.
And
the beans, right?
Yeah.
I remember that TikTok.
Yeah. And so I simulated a funeral service for all our Goya products in the house. So I put all my kids in black. And we all walked down. All walked down with a product, and we put it in a rest in peace box. And it happened to be raining that day, so we watched that box float down the river, down my street. And the virtual, because I had all the hashtags that were related to Trump, and the virtual hate mail that I received was insane. I mean, people were like sending like death threats and calling me a faggot and saying, what kind of person raises children who does X, Y, and Z. I'm teaching my kids to hate their president. I'm also teaching my kids how to throw away food. Now, none of that happened. First of all, this was when a couple years ago. So my kids were like 4 and 5 or whatever it was. And they didn't even know that it had to do with Trump.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
We were just creating, they're like, yeah, we'll dress up in black and yeah, we'll
Yeah.
do this. This sounds like fun.
The world of make-believe.
The
You know,
world of
youth.
make believe.
Yeah.
And we did take the Goya products and we donated it to the church up the street.
Oh, amazing.
And so we never threw anything out. You know, and so it was interesting because in that I'll never stop being political.
Yeah.
But it was that moment that I realized, oh, this is the interesting thing about that is for 2 weeks, if you went on Instagram and you put in just Goya, nothing else, if you put in Goya, out of the millions of videos that were surrounding it, the very top three on the left was Alexandra Ocasio, because she was the first one to come out against and speak against it. And then on the far right was Ivanka Trump holding a Goya bean in the White House.
Oh, yeah, seen that picture?
And smack dead center were my kids walking down the steps.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's that for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So for almost a month, I was like fending off these.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, okay, so I have like lots of questions, but and again, I don't want to focus too much on just being viral, but
Yeah.
when you were making the content, did you have any idea that it would go viral, or was that the intention, or was
No.
it just purely for joy?
you mean outside of like maybe that one?
Yeah, just outside of that one.
It was purely joy. It
Yeah.
was purely to make people laugh. It was more for selfish reasons, for our own sanity.
Yeah.
And I think as we saw that people were finding it relatable and laughing, it's like, well, we're doing this for ourselves. We're putting good things out into the world. Let's continue to do that.
Yeah.
And so, before we knew it, brands started reaching out.
Well, and I think because I remember watching it and I remember seeing the growth because again, I was like laying in bed every day, grieving with the loss of our industry and things.
Yeah.
But it did feel so authentic, and I felt like you were just showing us a little glimpse of what you do in your house.
Totally.
And I think that's what I've always been so excited about is just the authenticity that you give and the confidence that you give about being you, which I do love how open and honest you've been about grief and about your history.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to meet your partner,
Yeah.
your late partner, but you talk about him a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's so beautiful. And you being kind of a father of three, I've had a lot of super moms on here, and I've rarely had a super dad, even though dads are great.
Yeah.
But you do it for three. You have a strong community of men around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some men and women, obviously, but I've noticed, especially on like your TikToks, you have some really, really funny gay men.
Yeah.
And I just think that's so amazing. How did that community come about? Is it just friends of yours that's been around before?
Yeah, I have to tell you the thing that sort of distinguishes, I think if you're a parent, you're a parent, right?
Yeah.
I think that what distinguishes my support system from perhaps single mothers is that women are so prideful. And society puts so much pressure on women to be maternal.
Yeah.
And there's the motherly instinct. And I think that sometimes results in mothers not requesting help, not being open to a larger support system because for them it appears like they can't handle
do it.
They
Yeah.
can't do it.
Wow.
And so as a man, I don't have motherly instincts.
Yeah.
And that's a real thing. And I was not shy about being very open about wanting help. After my husband passed away, I think that people were willing to help, and I was certainly willing to receive it. The story I always tell is like my family, they would come over. There's also sort of this negative impact as a single father where they make the assumption you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And he clearly needs help. And my family, they would come over and they're like, ay, mira, él no sabe, he doesn't know how to put on a diaper, somebody help him. And I'd be like, you know what, tú sabes, you're right. I don't,
Yeah.
I would play the part.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
the burnout is real, and I
Yeah.
wasn't willing to burn out. And so I said yes to everything. So whenever I always tell mothers this is, and even if you're two-parent households, no matter what, it's still a shit show, no matter what the
Yeah.
dynamic it is. It's still hard.
Yeah.
So whenever anybody asks you if you need anything, pull out that to-do list with a smile and say thank you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not shy about help. And so I think that cultivated this really big support system.
Yeah.
And you know, being a gay man that lives in New York, I think we're so accustomed to creating our own chosen family, right?
Yeah.
Even, you know, out in LA, it's like when, you know, we all move to the big cities
Yeah.
and most of our families are left behind. And so it takes us a while to cultivate our chosen family, but once they're there forever.
Yeah.
And so I think that also makes a difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's really beautiful, the stories that you tell and the way that you put your content out. Because again, I think your children are so talented and so bright, and it's so great to also just see the amount of structure and support you have outside of just the internal unit in your home.
Yeah.
And so that's super great. Now, when you were kind of going through the loss of your husband,
Yeah.
were you still doing weddings at the time?
Yeah. So I was working at the Foundry in Long Island City as the events. Yeah, I was their events director, and I was trying to make a decision whether if I wanted to stay there or Tim and I decided to start our family, and so then the question was, do I stay at the Foundry where I'm getting paid well, but I'm working too many hours, but I've also peaked
Yeah.
in terms of experience, or do I be a stay-at-home dad?
Yeah.
And so initially the stay-at-home dad was appealing, and then I realized that I could actually have the best of both worlds. And so
Yeah.
I was like, why don't I just launch
Yeah.
a business and create the hours I want, be the
Yeah.
dad I want to be. And so I launched the same month Avery was born, so March 2013.
Wow.
And then Tim passed away that December. And
Wow.
so it ended up, you know, being a blessing that I did launch my business when I did, because I think that, you know, had I gotten out of the industry and then I would have lost my husband, it would have been much more difficult to sort of tap back in.
Yeah.
So it ended up being a blessing.
Yeah, and I can't really identify obviously with the grief part or with that kind of loss.
Yeah.
But anyway, closest to that I can get was I was dealing with a really severe breakup, and I still had to do weddings.
Yeah.
And obviously that's my bread and butter.
Yeah.
So having to like walk a couple down while I'm like holding tears off, like, did you experience a lot of that when you were like working?
Yeah, so I like to tell this story, which was Tim and I got married at the Foundry.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
And the Foundry's beautiful too.
It is beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
It's still home to me.
Yeah.
After, you know, we're here
Yeah,
like
yeah.
12 years later from when I started working there, and I love them and I love the space. And so we got married there, and then I started working there after I got married there. That's how I got in the industry. And after Tim passed away, as a wedding planner, guess where my first wedding was?
Foundry.
It was at the Foundry.
I love that though. I
Yeah.
love connections like that.
But that very first wedding, here I am, I'm in the back, and I'm watching my couple walk down the same aisle that Tim and I did.
God.
They're giving their vows in
Yeah.
the same spot
Yeah.
that Tim and I did.
Yeah.
And then this waiter walks past, and he's like, he sees me crying, and he's like, see, this is why we love Jose. He's so tapped in with his couples. He gets so emotional. I'm like, oh my God, he has no idea.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's a moment that always stands out to me in
Yeah.
terms of like, you know, dealing with grief while, you know, doing what we do in the industry.
Yeah.
And I say it all the time because people did wonder, do you still want to plan for couples on their best day? You just lost your husband.
Yeah.
And I had the fortunate, I'm getting emotional right now, partly because I'm hungover, and that's okay.
Yeah, we were both maybe at the Knot Gala last night.
Yeah.
Maybe why I'm missing my voice because I was screaming the Killers on the dance floor with 20-somethings.
Oh my God, it was so much fun last night. I had in our community, you're blessed to be able to have a beautiful, wonderful, loving successful marriage.
Yeah.
And I had that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so I had 6 years of that. And so in terms of planning for my couples after he passed away, what motivated me is I wanted people to have what I had too.
Oh,
Right? Because I had that experience, and why wouldn't I want that for my couple? So for me, it wasn't
yeah.
a sad thing. It wasn't a depressing thing. I mean, of course, there was little moments like that first wedding, but for the most part, I actually it motivated me.
Yeah, that's actually really, what a beautiful way to, I mean, book more. I mean, I'll book you. That's actually really beautiful because I never really even thought about that, but that is such a great way to set intention for your work,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
Jason, I wouldn't discount either. When you were going through your own grieving, you know, grieving is grieving.
Yeah.
And the stages are no different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
like, you go through the denial, you go through, until you get all the way to acceptance,
Yeah.
right? And I always say, the key to that is, having a strong support system, making sure that you are unapologetically selfish, because I think that's really important. Otherwise, you'll never get to that place where you could be there for others if you're not. And do it all with a fucking sense of humor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
that is kind of my motto, and I think what I love about you, and I think why I feel like we align so much is that we are authentically ourselves in our
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people may be fearful of being who you are to sell yourself for work. But I feel like for me and maybe for you, I've been able to get closer to my clients and find the right type of client because I am authentic.
Yeah.
And even as I talk about sobriety and my addiction issues and things like that, I was really scared about that because it's not something that's really celebrated in our industry yet. We're not talking about it as much as we should about self-help. It's getting there. We're getting better about wellness.
Yeah.
But planners, we are kind of the upper echelon of also keeping it all together,
Yeah.
pretending everything's great, like when really deep down inside we are all dealing with the same turmoils as everyone else in life, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, what's interesting you're just bringing up for me is we have become more focused on wellness and all the things that come with it. But what I haven't seen in the industry is discussing very specifically things like addiction
Yeah.
and depression, but like truly,
Yeah.
and it's we don't talk about it. I don't remember there ever being a talk at Engage.
Yeah, I was
Or
actually I'm sure if I'm the first, but I talked about my addiction
you
on
talked
the main
about it,
stage.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
But
Rebecca and Catherine, shout out to them who gave me that opportunity to speak in Bahamas.
and that's the thing. It's like I you know what, I forgot that you did that, and I think it's so important. And
Yeah.
it's yeah. I mean, look, I think that perhaps that there's been moments where we've been labeled as trailblazers for our own different
Yeah.
reasons, and that definitely makes you that. If to be able to be on such a huge platform like Engage and be able to talk about addiction, I'm sure you helped a lot of people in
Yeah,
a way
I mean-
that I may have helped people with grieving.
I mean, and that's the thing that I think it makes me so happy that we're also both queer in the queer community, and we are, you know, advocating for inclusivity in so many different ways, more than we even realize.
Yeah.
And especially with planners, I think, you know, it is a really difficult job that we picked. It is a very, very difficult career, and we make it seem so beautiful with all the stories that we post and all the fun that we do have, because there are so many privileges and fun that we do have. But
Yeah.
but there are times that I check in with myself a lot now, and I'm like, wow, this is, we're giving ourselves to a couple for a year,
Or more.
Yeah, or more, and
Especially during the pandemic, right?
right? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And so, I think that's always been really refreshing. But I do love finding other pros and people that are out there that are just actively being authentic,
Yeah.
but also producing great work, which you do stunning work as well.
Thank you.
You know?
I love your content, by the way. The stuff you've
Oh,
been banging
thank
out
you.
on TikTok.
I mean, my TikToks are so. I mean, can we just also talk about the amount of production that TikTok takes? I mean, like, can you tell for someone who's a novice? I basically do like the filter things.
Yeah.
Like keep it very easy, because I even just trying to edit like two videos together, I like end up going cross-eyed.
It's so fun to watch, though.
It is a big production though, right?
It
Like you
is.
put in a lot of time to do that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes they can, especially if it's like for branded content.
Yeah.
So, sometimes it could take anywhere from, 20 minutes to 2 hours, or sometimes a day. Like,
Yeah.
we just did something with Volkswagen.
Oh,
and
yes.
yeah, and we went out to LA and we filmed something there. And of course that was like a whole day production. But what's really interesting about that is I think people do think it's easy, and I think people think it's like, oh yeah, whatever, whatever. But here's the thing that's happening is in the content creator, influencer world and brands, right? So commercials are pretty much almost, you don't just see commercials anymore when you're watching the screen. And these brands are realizing that everybody's just watching things on social media. And during the pandemic, it just clicked for people like, oh my God, we can't get the celebrity to do this. We can't have a crew around.
Yeah.
So let's just focus in on people that are at home doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I think we were just sort of like at that right place at the right time. Now for brands, we get, I don't know, sometimes we like talk about numbers. It's not to like be boastful, but it's like we get paid 10, 20, 30, 40K to do
Yeah.
like a 60-second TikTok,
That's
right?
amazing.
And so for me, 20K is a shitload of money.
Yeah.
But for them, it's a drop in the bucket because they're not paying a celebrity 200,000,
Yeah.
and they're not paying a whole production crew.
Yeah.
Like when all is said and done, they're spending $1 million to promote this one product, and for me, they're paying like 20K.
Yeah,
You know?
that's true. And a lot of the production, even like the pre-production, post-production work is typically done through the influencer.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. And that's the part that I think people don't connect with. It's like sometimes we have, we have to be authentic, but we also have to make sure that we deliver the messages, and we have to make sure all the angles are right. And there's revisions, right?
Yeah.
There's like, they'll come back and they're like, you need to do this. And if they ask you for one change, that sometimes that means you have to do the whole thing over.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, those clothes are dirty now.
Come on, kids, everybody get together.
Like, right? And especially like a content creator where there's children involved,
Yeah.
because you got to have them in the right mental
Yeah,
space
yeah.
to be into it, because otherwise it's not going to read well.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, do you have, I mean, okay, so now that you are making like branded content,
Yeah.
are there moments that you still feel like, oh, woe is me? Like, or do you pretty much feel like you've gotten to a point where you're like, okay, I can get these things done. I know how to get it done. I know the formula now. Do you still have moments of like fraud mentality? Do you still have that when you're making content?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. I think there's some exhaustion. There's some exhaustion to it. It's definitely easier and more manageable. And I have an agent now, so that
Yes,
helps.
agent.
That helps. But yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it could be I think as a planner and doing the content stuff, there is definitely a space of being overwhelmed and
Yeah.
being pulled in different directions, but it's nothing to fucking complain about. It's
Yeah.
like, I feel really lucky because, as we know, there are people in our industry that didn't make it past the pandemic.
Yeah.
There were people that had to do other things because events shut down.
Yeah.
And so I feel really fortunate that this happened. It wasn't like, we all talked about that word we couldn't stand, which was pivot. But for us, it was sort of this organic thing with the content creating
Yeah.
that allowed me to also sustain the wedding, being a wedding planner. And because, as you know, most of us were working our asses off, but not getting paid because we didn't have a COVID clause in our
Yeah.
contract. So like whenever a client changed their date, changed the season.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we have to do a new design deck now. Now we have to oh my God, we have to find a whole new venue.
Yeah.
It's like we were planning multiple events for one couple.
Yeah.
And we weren't getting paid for it. We were
Yeah.
just getting paid what the initial contract was doing,
Yeah.
So it made it really challenging. So I felt really grateful that all of this was sort of happening, even though now at the other side of it, I've got these two businesses, but worth it and really a blessing.
Yeah. And with planning, has there been any changes or shifts now that you are doing, like you're like,
Yeah.
oh, we only do this many, you have to jump over these hoops. Like what's your new perspective on planning?
My career goal was always to get down to 10 weddings a year.
Yeah.
And last year, we could have easily have done it. It ended up being 15 because I had 5 spillovers from COVID.
Uh-huh.
But we reached it. And now that, sorry, did I say last year? This year, 2020, what are we? 2021?
22?
2022.
I know, I feel the same way.
Oh my gosh.
Shout out to the Not Gala.
Yeah. But But the new barometer is, well, shit. Maybe I'll only do 5 weddings.
Yeah.
The question I get all the time is, are you still going to do weddings because you're successful over here? And my answer is always no. I love our industry. I
Yeah.
love the people in it. I love what I do. Would I like to do less of them and make more money? 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the industry loves you too. But we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Would you like your commercial on the Rheeality podcast? Please make sure to do it with me. Oh, that's not good.
Jason Rhee.
I was waiting for that.
I know that because you said it in the same exact way.
We are back. Okay, so I feel like the one thing that I also love that you've been posting a lot is dating.
Yeah.
Dating.
Yes.
And so what is your current status? What is your love journey right now?
Oh my gosh. I always question how I'm going to answer this because every time I've done an interview and I talk about the present moment, it's gone.
Oh, we don't want to jinx it. We don't want to
wanna
jinx it. Yeah.
So the current status is that I'm continuing to I have all the apps.
Yeah.
I have 7 apps.
Yeah.
I've got Hinge, I've got Grindr, I've got Scruff, I have OkCupid, I've got Tinder, I have Bumble.
Ooh. Those I was on are you on Raya too?
I am on Raya, yeah.
I also do you have a brand deal with Raya?
No.
Because I'm about to talk shit about Raya.
No, go for it.
I'm convinced that Raya is fake. I'm convinced that there are fake profiles. They're fake, and because I keep getting the same ones,
Yeah.
and some of them match with me, and then they ghost me, and
Yeah.
so I'm still looking. I don't even know if I'm actually ready for a relationship, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think I'm still on my focusing on my business, focusing on my brand. I too would love to get a blue check mark. That's my goal. But it's been interesting because you do share your dating experiences.
Yeah.
So when it doesn't work out, do you think back and go shit, should I archive that post? Or do you just this is me, this is my journey?
Well, interesting. Okay, so in the last 9 years since
Yeah.
Tim's passed, I've had 2 relationships.
Yeah.
One of them did not work out for reasons that can't be public.
Yeah.
But we're still very close now and very good friends. And I
Love.
love him. He's still family. One of them, the second relationship did not turn out well at all. And that was definitely a moment where I had to delete all history.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't even know. I think a lot of people still assume that I haven't been in a relationship since Tim's passed.
Wow.
And then when it comes to dating, I'll post something if I feel like we've gotten to a place where we're consistently having a good time together.
Yeah.
I am strategic when it comes to that.
Yeah.
What am I gonna? Should I post? Should I not? So instead, I will post about my experiences without maybe mentioning names. At the moment, I am. I don't know. I am excited about. I'm excited to. There's a couple things happening.
Yeah.
So
this won't air for a while, so it's okay.
here's my issue. Here's what's happening. Is I apparently can't find anybody that's local.
Oh.
Everybody's always from somewhere else that's not close. There was I had this wonderful human that I was dating in Canada during COVID, and then this wonderful man from oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank right, Nashville.
Also, all great places, by the way.
All great places. Yeah. And I sort of made it my intention recently, stop compromising. You need somebody local because it's so important that stability is there for the kids too, if we're talking long term.
Yeah.
But I just recently met someone who still has an accent and still doesn't live in New York City, but it is Connecticut, so it's a lot closer than any place that anybody that I've talked to. And this person that I'm dating, if it doesn't work out, who cares? It doesn't work out. But he's an equestrian.
He's hot.
I know.
Hot.
And guess what? He's 6'3".
Hot.
Which you don't really expect someone who rides a horse, right?
Hot.
You think jockey, right? So, and I don't know, we're having a good time. So
6'3" in equestrian, and lives in Connecticut.
Yeah, he competes.
Okay, that's not fair. God is not fair. That's pretty hot. That's really hot.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, when this post will, if it makes it in, that means it's still working. Okay, so then right now, what is it that you're most excited about? Like, what's your journey right now?
Well, I'm excited for this show that's
Yeah.
coming out, right?
Tell
Wedding
me about
Talk.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So about a month ago, a couple months ago, we got the call that they want to film a show and they're looking for hosts. And so they threw Jove Meyer and myself into the mix as potential hosts. And we would be hosting with Tara Lipinski. And
Okay.
so
Amazing.
she's fantastic.
Tara Lipinski, huge fan.
Yeah. I didn't
Also, Jove Meyer, amazing.
Jove
Super
Meyer's
talented.
great.
Yeah.
And but what happened during the show is that they were trying to figure out different combinations. So it's called Wedding Talk. It airs on Crackle for free, so you could download it on Roku, iTunes. It comes out on Thursday, which is the October 13th.
Amazing. We'll have the link below.
Yeah. And it's a positive show, which I really love because it's on the Chicken Soup for the Soul network, so it's not going to be bitchy or negative. And what we do is we feature 3 luxury wedding videos that they take from Love Stories TV, and they are the executive producers. Rachel Silver, who's the she owns Love Stories TV with her partner, and we show 3 luxury wedding videos, and we show up with Tara as her experts. And we get to comment on each episode has a different theme. So one might be backyard weddings. And when I say backyard weddings, it's like somebody's estate.
Yeah.
Right? One's on elopement. And
Beautiful.
elopement is like a gay couple that got married on an active volcano.
Oh, okay. No
Right?
big deal.
No big
No
deal.
big deal.
No big deal.
What's the station look like for that? What's the tray pass?
Right? Exactly. But it's just visually stunning. And what was interesting is they were trying to figure out different hosts that would fit the mold, right? Jove Meyer and myself were not just the only hosts. There were some other wonderful hosts. And when Tara and I connected, we hit it off right off the bat.
Yeah.
And then when Jove Meyer came into the mix, because he came a couple days into production, once the 3 of us got on stage, it was like magic. Because Jove Meyer and I, we've known each other for 12 years.
Yeah.
We started out together, and he's Uncle Jove in our house. And
love.
him and I have been through ups and downs both together and separately.
Yeah.
And so that chemistry just showed up on camera. We had this
Beautiful.
beautiful brotherly banter, and Tara was phenomenal. To see her, we all think we could do broadcasting.
Yeah.
And you see her, I mean, I sat from her 12 hours a day. We filmed the whole season in 1 week, so 2 episodes
Wow.
a day. And to see her take that teleprompter, edit live, spit it out.
Wow.
Like, no, she will get it in one take, and she'll give you a second one just to give you something to work with. She's phenomenal. I learned so much by just sitting across from her, watching her.
It's that like precision skating skill.
It's wild.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
wild to watch her. It's
Yeah.
fascinated. I love her.
That's so amazing. I'm so excited to see the show.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So then, okay, so you started at the Foundry.
Yeah.
Like, is that really your first event industry experience?
Yes.
And then what was your first job?
As a wedding professional or
Just first job?
My
first
first-
paycheck ever?
yeah, okay. So for paycheck, because there's a difference between when you got your first paycheck and when you were taken for granted as a child.
Ooh, that's your both.
Well, that one was, I remember the landlord from our building was like, "Hey, I'll give you $1 for every big bag, industrial bag you fill up with leaves," right?
Yes.
So I'm like, great, I want to make a buck.
Yeah.
And a literal buck. And so, yeah, so I like spent the whole day raking leaves, but whatever, I figured out how to manipulate that situation. Like, you fluff up a bunch of the leaves so it's like a full
Yes.
bag.
Yeah.
So I made $10 that day, and that was that.
You're just like blowing,
Yeah.
blowing in there.
I made bank. It was amazing.
That's amazing.
And then the first one that I got hired for with an actual paycheck is in New England. There's Papagino's, which is very similar to Pizza Hut. Also a chain. And they dress. I'm aging myself. I'm 46, and they dressed me up as Barney the fucking purple
Yes.
dinosaur.
You were Barney?
I was Barney handing out flyers out front. And so, I would dance and go up and down the block, being goofy.
That's okay. I realized that my first job I've talked about, but my actual first taken advantage / I did benefit from is I was 16,
Yeah.
and I'd pass out flyers for the Gay Asian Night at a gay club in WeHo.
There you go.
And my pay was my mission in, but because I was under the age of 18,
Yeah.
if the security found me, the owner was like, "You're on your own, buddy." So I would have to hide in the bathroom stall when he would come looking for me.
I love that.
Yeah, but Barney,
Do you ever have fun in that bathroom stall?
I mean, yes. In my 20s, I really lived out my gay card. I gallivanted around all of WeHo.
I did all the things.
And I also had a lot of fun here in New York. I had a lot of fun in Atlanta and I've even went to a gay bar in Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh my gosh.
And it was this super mega club. There was 5 people in it.
Nice.
And a really scary drag show that I thought at some point that the doors were going to lock and vampires were going to eat us. But no, I've had a lot of fun with my gay. I call it my gay youth, and I still understand that I'm in my late 30s, and so I'm now experiencing the getting out of bed and things aching, even though I did absolutely nothing the night before.
Yeah, except for last night.
Even last night. Last night, I kept it pretty demure, except for when they started playing early aughts, and I just started raging on the dance floor.
Yeah.
And and also when they play Cardi B or.
I can't remember. Were you at the after party?
Yes.
You did, yeah.
Yes.
It was so much fun.
I mean, I think we ended the night singing Celine Dion.
Oh, see, I missed that part.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And I always talk about how the wedding industry, we are like the band on Titanic. And we constantly play while the rest of the people get on lifeboats. So it was actually really full circle for us to be singing Celine Dion. Yeah, I talk about that all the time. I really think that,
I love that.
Wedding and event hospitality people, we are the band, and we will watch our clients get on a lifeboat. We'll watch some of those shady vendors get on a lifeboat, and we're just continuing to play. I talk about that all the time. So it's just such a full circle moment. Mm. But okay, so in this whole growth for you now, do you feel like you've made it?
Oh, that's such a good question. It feels like a good question for where I'm at now.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've made it, but I do feel established.
Ooh, I love that answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I because if I say I feel like I made it, then that feels like I've reached that point in my life where I've reached my goals.
Yeah.
And no, there's more that I want to do. I want to do more hosting. I want to be I love the idea of co-hosting because I can bounce energy off of people and I can match people's personalities pretty well and have fun and to be able to talk about things that I'm passionate about, whether if it's parenting or our industry. But I do feel established. Some of us, we talk about this a lot in the industry. There's the kids and there's the adults of the industry. So, there's wonderful, folks like, Marcy Bloom, Raffanelli, and all of these wonderful, David Beam, the biggest sweetheart in the industry.
Yeah, so sweet.
And for many years, I called myself one of the kids.
Yeah.
And now I feel like we have, actually, to steal from Ryan Hill, who twisted what I said into something that was more appropriate, was we are graduates.
Yeah.
We went for a master's, we are graduates, and now we are, pioneering and showing what's new and possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like I'm a bit of a, I've gone for my graduate degree.
Yeah.
And so I'm not quite the adult, but I think we're well on our way.
Yeah,
You
I
too,
love that. I love that.
Right? Don't you feel that way?
I mean, I don't know yet. I still feel like I'm a freshman, to be honest. I still feel very shocked that I get invited. And when
You got to get over that.
I mean, and I'm working on it because
Yeah.
I'm trying to be as present as possible. And then again, I think, the last 15 years of my business too has been a roller coaster, and I got sober this year. So I dealt with a lot of addiction issues throughout that 15 years, and also just learning about boundaries with people because I started therapy super late in life too.
Yeah.
So for me, it was if you were a client of mine, you became a family member to me.
Yeah.
And doing that over and over again for 15 years with the right kind of couples, shout out to all of them, and then some of the wrong kinds,
Yeah.
kind of really traumatized me, I think. And finding like different job opportunities and things like that, that again, like got me to where I am today. But it is something that I need to work on, because I don't want to ever discredit or feel like overly humble about something. But
Right.
but I do still geek out. Like, it was my first not gala, and I
Yeah.
still feel like I'm like, a fan, right?
Yes.
Even this exchange, like when you came in, I was like, because to me, you're one of the legends too. And
Oh,
I think
gosh.
now that you are also showing us what is possible, it excites me too. Because again, I'm looking forward to that path.
Well, I have to tell you, the way that I view you
Yeah.
is you were something that I feel like the industry needed, but nobody knew it until you showed up.
Oh,
That's how I feel about you. Because I think that you're vibrant. I think that your work speaks for itself. I think that you have a powerful voice that is, I think, in some ways missing in our industry. And I think that you're you're fierce about being open and wanting for others to succeed. And I love that about you. And so I think, I 100% consider you such an equal in terms of our growth.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to keep going up and up with you.
yeah, that means so much to me, because that really is what I care about. I really do care about this community, and I really want everybody to win. And I
Yeah.
feel like the more I do things and kind of create opportunities too, because I think for me, being an ethical billionaire to me means creating opportunities for other people. And that's kind of what my dream is, right?
Yeah.
To be able to do what I love,
Yeah.
but also find things that, again, elevate all of us. And especially these magical beings in the wedding industry that I think we are very, very, we're all artists in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I think that too opens ourselves up to different dynamics and different characters and nuances between all of us. But that really means a lot to me, because that is genuinely what I hope people think of me as
Yeah.
as I continue to do what I do in this industry. But I mean, I feel very honored that you're saying that. / I'm falling in love with you. So now with your kids, and what's the ages right now with everybody?
Yeah. So Avery is 9 and the girls are 8,
Wow. And what grade are they in?
4th and 3rd.
Fourth and third. So do you really have free time now? Like, with everything going on?
That's been part of the dating that I failed to mention, which is it's becoming a little harder,
Yeah.
right? So we pride ourselves in, whenever people said I don't have enough time, I don't have time to be in a relationship. I used to be like, you're ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, make time, right?
Yeah.
And I found myself last year being like, oh my God, I literally don't have time.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be fair to whoever came into the picture. And I'm making it a different intention this year.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to, fire myself from the things I don't want to do, which is, getting a lawyer and an agent and that kind of stuff to
Yeah.
help streamline the stuff so that I can, open up the possibility of really giving somebody, giving a relationship a shot.
Yeah. Now I know that you're kind of talking to somebody right now, but
Yeah.
what is it that you are looking for?
I am looking for someone who can roll with someone whose schedule can be unpredictable. I'm looking for someone who, is loving and, understanding, and who, I'll tell you, I don't want someone with a big personality. Is that weird?
No, I feel you.
Yeah, I can't. I can't be with somebody where there's not enough oxygen for both of us, right? Let me have it. And I'm not saying I want you to sit there and look pretty, but if you don't mind, that
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
got
yeah.
a lot going on, and
Yeah.
I've got all these
I
projects.
can be quieter. I can be quieter. No, that I totally understand that. I think that there's a balance.
Yeah, there's a balance, and I need someone to be the calm to my storm.
Yes,
right? 'Cause
yes.
I feel like I say this all the time. If my clients knew how disorganized I was in my personal life, they'd never hire me.
I mean, to be truthful though, I think that's every planner out there.
I think you might be right. I've been to some homes.
I mean, trust. Like, mine looked like a storage unit for many, many years. But I think that's maybe one of our gifts is we focus all of our balance and organization energy on our couples.
Yeah.
That's what we are good at what we do because we do it for them.
Yeah, for sure. So I need someone that's the calm to my storm, and also someone who you don't have to be obsessed with kids,
Yeah.
but you have to like them enough to give it a shot.
Yeah.
And somebody said something yesterday to me that inspired me because I was getting very discouraged
Yeah.
about dating. And this person said to me, well, the kids aren't going to be kids. If you're looking for a life partner, think that the kids are not going to be kids forever.
That's
like
so true.
they're going to be kids for maybe 6, 7 more years.
Yes.
And if you're talking about life partner, there's so much after that. So don't let that space take over the overwhelm. Don't let that overwhelm be that.
Yes.
And both from whoever might be dating me and even from me when I'm looking for someone. Like don't
Yeah.
necessarily look for someone who that's why I said you don't have to be obsessed with kids because listen, if you like them enough
Yeah.
and we could have a good time together, we only need that for 5, 6 years. And
Yeah, that's so true.
yeah. So
What an interesting perspective. Now, so like with I mean, you kind of said it already, but the way that I look at it about looking for a partner, like for me, I realized my mentor said this a long time ago. But for a perfect partner for me is a
Yeah.
kite and string. Have you heard of this before?
No.
So a kite can go crazy high and fly high and do all the crazy things, but without a string, it flies away.
Yeah.
And a string can tie ships to docks and can keep things tight in foundation, but they can't go as high without a kite. So I always am looking for my string. So I think you're looking for your string.
I have fucking goosebumps all
Yeah?
over my body and my hair is like sticking up right now.
You're looking for your string.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, and I know that. I mean, look, the strings are out there. You know,
Yeah.
now finding a 6'3" equestrian string, I don't know how common that is for him, but you're also in the package that you are, so I'm sure you'll find it. Okay, I ask this question a lot on the podcast.
Yeah.
What is the biggest misconception you think you have about yourself?
That others have about me.
Yeah.
I will. This is going to be an honest answer too. I think that I've been called very self-centered. I've been labeled narcissistic.
Really?
By a couple people, and so I have this paranoia around that it's always all about me, and that feels very hurtful because. And I wouldn't say most people. I'd say majority of people don't see me that way. But when you hear it from people that are close to you,
Yeah.
that has an impact, and you have to take a look at that. But the reality is, I do think that it's misread because as an only child, which has that stereotype of like being self-centered, but I was quite the opposite. Like I just want to share the world. Like whatever I'm doing, I want to celebrate it and I want to vocalize it. And if you're someone that doesn't have a lot to share about what's going on in your life because maybe you feel stagnant, then I can't be responsible for that.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I think, and for example, like the biggest trait I do think that I think we all can be narcissistic.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
healthy narcissism, unhealthy narcissism, and then there's the disorder, right? I think I have healthy narcissism.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I think we don't talk about often. And especially if you're someone of color or minority, we're sort of told we shouldn't be so boastful. And so I know that when I'm boastful or I want to celebrate my wins,
Yeah.
I know that it sometimes reads differently for people. And why shouldn't I celebrate, and vocalize my life and everything that's going on? And so I think that's definitely the biggest, I think, misconception. And because I want everybody to succeed, I want
Yeah.
everybody to win.
Well, what's kind of amazing too is you just said like when you were growing up, you as an only child, you wanted to just share things, and it's kind of amazing because you have 3 amazing team members that you have with you
Yeah.
the whole time.
And that's the thing. It's like you might think I'm selfish, but I put all of my energy into my couples.
Yeah.
I put all of my energy into my children.
Yeah.
I actually have very little time for myself.
Yeah.
So that's why I find that a little strange sometimes.
Yeah. So to kind of flip that then is what's one thing that you love about yourself?
Oh, this wasn't in the email that you sent with questions. What's something that I love about myself?
Yeah.
I like my legs.
Yes, legs.
I like my legs. I'm insecure about things around my body and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but I like my legs. I like
Just
my
show some leg
calves.
cam.
Can we? I don't know. And then I don't know. I that's such a hard question.
Yeah.
What I love about myself is that I'm good at making people feel comfortable.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I think I've always been very good at that.
Yeah.
I can match where you are and make you feel really welcomed, no matter who you are, where you are, and what we're doing at that moment.
Yeah. I mean, I do have to say the moment we sat down, I felt at ease in this conversation. So
Awesome.
I am truly so grateful that you spent time with me today.
Oh, me too.
And thank you so much for being on the Rheeality Podcast. I will have all of your links below. You have to check out all of his content. It's so funny. And I can't wait to see you continue to blow the fuck up.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ooh, wait, don't go yet. Make sure you subscribe and like and follow and transfer me via Venmo. Thanks for listening.